Welcome back to State-Sponsored Conspiracy Podcast, the only conspiracy podcast where you are getting the official opinions of the United States government brought to you by us, two federal employees. Today we'll be talking about a conspiracy that I've been enjoying a lot recently that was brought to my attention by my co-host who is back, which is the conspiracy that nukes are not real. You introduced me to this.
Yeah, this is gonna be a little bit of a tough episode for me. As you all know, I was in a very serious 4th of July accident. I did lose both of my hands, most of my face, and my penis. I did have to get all of those reconstructed. I am now a top of the line cyborg who can double as a RoboCop, but also as a next gen podcaster. But I'm back, and I've emotionally hardened myself for this tough topic, which pertains to explosions.
And you're never gonna light fireworks off inside again.
Though those actually were not fireworks, as we found out. They were military ordnance, and we should not have even gotten our hands on them. But the interns who were responsible for procuring the fireworks are now dead from the same explosion that ruined my penis.
Email us if you would like to intern for this show.
Please, we would please ask you have experience with explosives. I don't want this to happen again. I want to make sure that everybody is safe, and I don't want to lose my hands again.
It's sad, but at the end of the day, you learned a lesson. I learned a lesson, I guess. And I think we can move on now to talking about a real explosives expert that you told me about, Owen Benjamin, stand-up comedian and conspiracy theorist. Because you brought this conspiracy to my attention by sending me this tweet by Owen Benjamin, where he says, "It's weird that the nuclear blasts vaporized brick houses, but not the old-timey camera recording it. It's because nukes are fake. Hiroshima and Nagasaki never had any fallout radiation. The whole narrative and all the evidence is absurd." This tweet has 26 million views right now.
Mm-hmm.
And before we get into the actual conspiracy, I feel like this is a major problem that I have a solution to. The major problem is the primary job of the stand-up comedian nowadays is to promote conspiracies from their compound about whatever they want. And this is because a good system has fallen apart. There used to be a system in place where you took a stand-up comedian and you said, haha, that's funny. And then they were given a sitcom where they would play a family man and they would say, oh my God, my mother-in-law is coming to town. And then they would get money doing that. They would get money by saying, oh my God, my mother-in-law is back. But now, because they can't do that, they have to live in compounds in the desert and talk about nukes not being real.
We have to bring back the hot TV wives. It's the only thing that keeps them complacent and non-conspiracy spewing.
Yeah, the hot wife, the troublesome kids,
the teenage daughter, the younger son, the in-law,
the wisecracking old father.
I might just be thinking of the George Lopez show.
No, but that's what, if Owen Benjamin could have just been on a show where a wisecracking old man gave him advice about how to deal with his mother-in-law, we would not have this tweet. We would not even be having this conversation, is what I'm saying.
I think it's actually called the Zeet now.
What is Zeet?
Well, Twitter is now x.com, so if you take the TW from Twitter and then replace that with the X, instead of tweet, you now have Zeet.
The URL of Twitter is changed?
I mean, no, it's still Twitter, but if you type in x.com, it goes to Twitter, and also the icon is now an X. How did you not? Have you been living under a rock? I've been in a hospital for the past month. How have you not known about this?
I'm so out of it. I'm just not on Twitter. I don't know what goes on. This is why we need you here to inform me.
Have you just been in the theater like all week watching Barbie and Oppenheimer back to back. Actually, those are our code names for today. Barbie and Oppenheimer. I'm not gonna say who's who. We'll figure it out in post.
That will be decided later.
Yeah.
But he followed up this tweet with a longer tweet where he explained his theory in greater detail.
It gets nuts, folks.
So the first thing he said was, the camera isn't super far away. It gets engulfed in a dust cloud. One shot, it's in the house. So what he's referring to here is basically you have all these videos of nuclear tests. And the theory boils down to, for him and for a lot of people, these videos must be fake because otherwise the camera would have been destroyed. There's no way the camera would have survived this.
True.
It's saying, who is camera? How can this be here? The answer, of course, is that the cameras were in bunkers super far away.
With really advanced zoom lenses, very expensive.
Yeah, and the cameras were also not inside the mushroom cloud. What you see in these videos of these houses that they built getting knocked down and stuff, what you're seeing is the air blast really far away. So the camera is far away from the air blast, which is already far away. That's why the camera did not get vaporized.
People don't really understand the scale of what a nuclear explosion looks like.
Yeah, people think that Oppenheimer was standing right next door.
Yeah, the fact that you can see the mushroom cloud means you're probably good. I mean, unless it's radioactive, a dirty bomb.
Exactly. So he goes on to say that he talks about how the camera, that's his first point. Then he says you're looking at miniatures. These aren't actual buildings blowing up, they are models. So what he says is happening, and what other people say this is part of the conspiracy, is that it's basically the set of a Godzilla movie where they build tiny little houses and then they turn on a fan and then that blows them down.
It's a model train set getting destroyed by a big fan.
Now the next thing he says has a more interesting answer, which is he says there is no fallout in Hiroshima and Nagasaki or in any of the 40 U.S. states that were test sites. Now the actual reason for this is because you think about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, people live in those cities right now. They're hanging out, having watching anime.
I think I know the answer to this one. I'm not an expert, but weren't those air blasts with low radioactive yields?
Yeah, the nukes that we dropped on Japan were detonated super high in the air. And so the radiation was mostly blown away. So it's not like Chernobyl where it just melted down straight at ground level. There was also way, way more. Well, basically, in Chernobyl, it was tons, multiple tons of nuclear waste just went straight into the ground.
Right.
Whereas Hiroshima and Nagasaki, it was each bomb only had 2 pounds of material, and it was detonated way up in the air. So that's why you can go hang out at Hiroshima right now.
You know, this may be a controversial take, but I think we let them off easy.
We should have detonated them right there on the floor. That's what you're saying.
We should have given them a big bundle of them.
He goes on to say, which is sort of a funny thing to say about a tweet. He goes on to say, a zeet.
Mm-hmm.
He says, Hiroshima, by the way, he spells Hiroshima hero, Hero. Hiroshima and Nagasaki weren't in the top 10 most destroyed cities of Japan, and the cities were never dead zones. They were never evacuated. This is just more.
I don't think you have to evacuate dead people.
Yeah, you can't really evacuate. It's kind of too late to evacuate at that point.
That would be impressive, though, if they had that sort of response time. That
would be incredible. That's I don't remember a fire drill in school ever going that well. That'd be very impressive. Now his next point is also more interesting. It says eyewitnesses working on the Manhattan Project, like head or GM Galen Windsor, stated that the explosions during tests were massive amounts of TNT. This I'll talk about a bit later, because then he says something I enjoy. He says, yes, the whole world can be in on it ever since the creation of the United Nations. And this gets at a sort of another, he's sort of preempting a counter argument to this conspiracy, which is, who exactly is lying here? Because America would have to be lying, Russia would have to be lying, China would have to be lying. It's not clear what the motivation for this conspiracy would really be.
I heard something related to this. I watched a streamer, Destiny, and I was watching some of his old videos, and he talks about like how conspiracies fall apart when you have like big lies that involve more and more people, like especially on like a worldwide level. Russia isn't going to work with the US. These like Middle Eastern countries aren't going to work with the US. China's not going to work with the US. No, the UN doesn't cover every country in the world. It's not run by every single top G world leader. The amount of lies that need to stay together and be coherent between like millions of people it's too much to even be possibly feasible.
You're right. This conspiracy would have to involve Joe Biden and Kim Jong-un.
Joe Biden would never lie to us.
They would have to get together in agreement and be like, hey, we both know nukes are fake, but
Wink.
let's just not tell anyone, bro.
Wink, wink.
We're gonna pretend to get mad at you guys for having nukes, which aren't real. You know they're not real. But we're gonna pretend to get mad to keep the whole charade going. And Kim Jong-un would then say, I got you, Joe. You know I'd never narc on you like that. And that would have to just be happening for the past 80 years.
Yeah.
He also, after this, he says something which I don't really know what he means. He says, there are no nuclear bombs with fallout radiation. There are health effects from uranium-tipped ballistics that can damage thyroids when someone is in a lot of contact with them. Now, this seems to be him attempting to come up with some sort of reason for why people would get cancer or something. I really don't know what he's getting at here.
So now he also just doesn't believe radiation exists. He's just what?
I'm not sure. And then he concludes with, that's it. You were tricked. Hiding under your desk was an MK Ultra control program. Stop being afraid. It's fake.
I thought we had to hide under our desks for active shooters.
Well, he's an older guy, so he probably is. He's talking about the Cold War.
Gen Xers had to do hide under desks and stuff.
Yeah, they were doing like nuclear scare drills, which I guess like that was pretty silly because your desk is obviously not going to help you much there. But this is what he was getting at. Now, this tweet made me aware of Galen Windsor, which, first of all, he spells his name like Gay-lyn, like G-A-Y, Galen. That was not his name. His name was G-A-L-E-N, Galen Windsor. And this guy was actually really cool.
Was he in Oppenheimer?
He was... Galen Windsor, sadly, is not in Oppenheimer.
Oh, I thought he was Josh Peck's character.
Well, as great as that would have been, Owen Benjamin is wrong. He did not work on the Manhattan Project. He worked at Los Alamos in like the 80s. He was not the GM of the Manhattan Project, as Owen Benjamin seems to believe.
Not even close.
No. Galen Windsor was a nuclear chemist who worked at a bunch of different nuclear sites all over America. And he retired and he became a huge nuclear power advocate. And he traveled around doing all these lectures and stuff. And he would lick uranium during his lectures.
Oh.
And he would ignite plutonium like on his little like podium to prove that it was harmless. And he would say that like all the fears of radiation are totally made up. There's nothing to worry about with nuclear power. He did not think nuclear bombs were fake. I don't know where Owen Benjamin is getting that. But he said that basically the reason we don't have nuclear power, and well, actually, that's not even the weirdest stuff he did. He claimed to regularly swim in like the pools where they cool down the spent like nuclear fuel rods.
No.
And then he said he would drink the water too.
That seems excessive.
Like to prove how harmless it was, he would just drink it.
Now, I have a question.
I would imagine so.
Is this man still alive?
This man is dead.
Now, you know what my next question is. How did he die?
Sadly, there is not that much information about this guy. He is sort of an obscure figure. You can read his obituary, but it does not include his cause of death. I am fairly confident that he got cancer and died, but I cannot confirm that.
Yeah. Once you said he was drinking the radioactive cooling water, I'm gonna guess cancer.
Yeah, and then he went even further than this, and he claimed that 3 Mile Island, that like nuclear scare, he said that was a false flag, and that there was actually nothing wrong with the plant, and that they totally faked it. And he said that all this whole conspiracy was in place, so that big oil and big gas and all the like mainstream power companies could stay in control. And they were trying to keep nuclear out of the picture. And what he wanted is he basically said every like town or even every like neighborhood should just have like a local nuclear reactor that powers everything.
I don't disagree with that. There is like documented, like everybody is against nuclear power for all the wrong reasons. It's actually very clean and stuff. Yeah.
I know this guy is actually kind of like my hero. He's kind of amazing. And he was also kind of crazy because then he also said that the underground nuclear waste storage facilities, he said, yeah,
they're empty.
No. He said they were full of bodies. He said
from what?
He said the government is like just killing people, and then that's where the bodies are.
Let's should we look through the files, see if this is true?
He said the government and criminal elements are using these facilities, like the mafia, are hiding bodies in there. But you actually don't need to store nuclear waste underground.
The mafia, the triad, the yakuza, they're all in cahoots with the U.S. government to use body storage facilities. Yeah.
So Galen, he may have gone too far in a few places, but I basically consider this guy to be an American hero.
Yeah, Galen is the key to all this.
Like he wanted to fight big oil so bad, he licked uranium in lectures. Like what has your average liberal today done that's that badass? You know?
I don't know. Maybe that guy that like self-immolated himself for that Rage Against the Machine album cover. I don't know.
Wait, actually, I think there was someone who lit himself on fire in front of like a local courthouse in America. I can't remember his name though. I guess it wasn't that effective. Anyway, Galen was great. He did not think that nukes were fake. On the contrary, he thought nukes were the greatest thing ever invented. Oh. And I'm glad that Owen Benjamin brought him up because I hope more people become aware of him now and how cool he was. Also, so there's basically you got Owen Benjamin bringing this up, and then the other like most popular source of this conspiracy is a guy went on Joe Rogan named Mark Anderson, who's like a tech guy, and he brought up this whole thing where he's like, "Oh, pull up that video. Wow, look who was camera. Nukes must be fake." And then he clearly like doesn't think the conspiracy is real. He just kind of brought it up like for fun, and he's saying, "Haha, like isn't that kind of funny? Who was camera?" But then Joe Rogan like believes it, He's like, whoa, dude, who was Camera? And he starts believing it even as the guest is like backing off and like saying that he was just joking.
I think it's wholly irresponsible for people to go on a podcast and bring up conspiracies and joke about it and not make it abundantly clear that they're not real. I think that's so irresponsible, and we would never do that.
I agree.
Ever.
That's why we never lie on this podcast.
That's why we never just have episodes about conspiracies without making it clear that they're not real. And we certainly wouldn't interview people that would spread those conspiracies.
No, we would never do that.
Never gonna happen.
What was funny to me is like 5 years ago, Eddie Bravo goes on Joe Rogan.
Johnny Bravo?
Johnny Bravo. Eddie Bravo goes on the Joe Rogan Experience. He brings up this exact same conspiracy, and he gets completely blasted. Joe and Jamie are both legitimately angry. They're like, bro, you're such an idiot. Don't bring up stupid stuff like this on this podcast. How dare you? You're unqualified to discuss nukes? Do not talk about it. You should look into it, Eddie, you idiot, you moron.
I feel like denying nukes exist is like probably on par with like Holocaust denial.
In terms of how ridiculous it is.
And like, I guess offensiveness also.
Yeah, it is. Well, what's funny is that, okay, so Rogan and then Owen Benjamin, these are like the new wave of nuke denialism. But the OG people, who I'm going to talk about now, they also do not think the Holocaust happened.
Oh.
Yeah. So I looked around for the like older stuff about this, and the sort of OG anti-nuke website was called biglies.org/nuke lies.
Can we steal that domain, or is it still being used?
We could the website is still up, but the forum has been frozen, so you can't post anymore.
Damn.
Otherwise, I would have been all over this.
Oh yeah.
But this is sort of the headline on the website. It says, the nuke myth is a melding of free energy suppression, money laundering, large-scale conventional explosions, and social control. So I read a bunch of these forum posts, and I was looking at the discussions among these nuclear experts and scholars. That's who I assume it is anyway. And they were basically, that's sort of their main points right there. They're like, we have free energy with the magic wheel or whatever, and they're shutting that down. It's money laundering. There's a lot of posts where they say, like, the reason they made up nukes is so that they could, like, get more money for the military. So, like, oh, dude, we need more money to maintain all these nukes. But they're actually just, like, big empty tubes. And so it's money laundering, according to them. The explosions, that's just TNT. Nothing special going on.
Right.
And social control. So kind of what they'll fall back on is that, like, when you try to point out, like, hey, like, Russia would have to be in on it, North Korea would have to be in on it, what the hell's going on? They'll say, well, it's about just sort of broad social control. It's about, like, scaring people and, you know, keeping people in a state of fear about, oh, what happens if there's a nuke?
So Russia and North Korea and China, they would simply go along with it because they also want the control.
Yeah, they want to scare their own citizens, is what these people would sort of say.
I believe a lot of countries, especially like the war-torn Middle Eastern ones, probably have a lot to gain by telling everybody, by being whistleblowers, that there's no such thing as nukes.
Yeah, you would think, but these people would not think. And on this forum, I discovered who I believe is the original nuke denier. As far as I can tell, this is like ground zero for this conspiracy. It is a French-Canadian man.
Of course.
Named Roger Desjardins. And he posted under the name Cactus Needles, or Cactus. And In 2007, he started posting on Big Lies before it was Nuke Lies, and he would also post on the David Icke forums.
Oh yeah.
And I read through his original original nuke denial post, which, first of all, there's a lot of ranting about the Jews in this post. And I realized
you got, if any conspiracy theory has to have a healthy amount of ranting about the Jews.
So it would seem. But what I realized that this is like the first ever conspiracy where instead of saying the Jews did it, what they're saying is the Jews didn't do it.
But they wish they would have.
No, they're saying Oppenheimer didn't do anything. He did not make a nuclear bomb. Einstein did not write that paper.
Because they're just dumb Jews.
Yeah, they're saying this is them not doing anything. They were just they were just putting up big metal tubes full of TNT.
They were money laundering.
Exactly. The only other thing that's worth pointing out from his sort of original nuke denial post is item 12, where he simply says, Iraq, why did they not find so-called atom bombs there? So sort of more, this post was made in 2007, and he's sort of saying, hey, if Iraq didn't have WMDs like Bush said, doesn't that kind of mean there's no nukes at all?
It's not that there's just no nukes in Iraq. It's just that nukes don't exist in general.
There's no nukes anywhere.
That's a really good. That logic checks out.
I just like that he included that. Now, the only other sort of big website that's mostly dedicated to nuke denial is called hueco.tripod.com.
Can we get a .tripod URL domain?
And this website it's very powerful. It is very old looking, and this is the warning. This is the disclaimer that's on the front page. And I think I should give this disclaimer to all the listeners too. And this is what they write on there. It says, "Warning: media and other readers of my web pages about atomic bombs 1945, moon trips 1969, Estonia incident 1994, and 9/11 tower collapses 2001 are warned. As you probably suffer from cognitive dissonance, you cannot handle them without getting mentally disturbed and serious consequences."
My potions are too strong for you.
So, now that you have that disclaimer, we can continue to talk about this website.
Wait, what's the Estonia incident?
Okay, the Estonia incident was like a shipping disaster. It was like a boat crash. And the reason he mentioned that will become clear here.
Okay.
This website was created by Anders Bjorkman, who's this Swedish guy. And this is what he wrote for himself in his bio. The managing director of Heiwa Co. I'm actually not 100% sure how to pronounce it.
The Chinese phone company? Huawei?
No, that's what it seems like. Hua. The managing director of Hua Co. agency is Anders Bjorkman, naval architect and marine engineer with more than 50 years experience of tanker and ferry design, construction, and operations. Mr. Bjorkman has been a delegate to the IMO for various national administrations and one NGO, and has been a speaker at various safety at sea conferences. Mr. Bjorkman holds several patents concerned with ship safety. He also writes about fake A-bombs, false human clowns in space, mysterious structural collapses, etc. And this is the really good part. The Swedish government, its maritime administration, and media consider Mr. Bjorkman an idiot and a terrorist. So, supposedly he's like a boat safety expert, but it doesn't seem like anyone is really asking him for safety advice. It doesn't seem like he's really in big demand in Sweden.
This is a much tamer version of Anders Breivik.
Yeah, he's a terrorist, I guess, but he's really not. He's a
stochastic terrorist. He's a terrorist of the mind and the words.
He is. I felt a little bit terrorized reading his webpage.
Not so much shooting up a camp.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be up to anything too bad.
I do like the false clowns in space line though. That's great.
False clowns in space was one of my favorite phrases of his. He calls a lot of people clowns. Like he calls like Oppenheimer and those guys clowns as well. And I'll read a few select texts from his website where he discusses how nukes are fake. He makes a similar point to cactus needles here. He says, so when USA said that it was attacked on September 11th, 2001 by poor Arab terrorists, USA had to defend itself by conventional terror bombing and invading Afghanistan and Iraq instead of using nukes. That war against terrorism is 2023 still on, etc., etc., and no nuclear weapons are used. So basically what he's saying here is, hey, if nuclear weapons are so real, why didn't you guys just nuke Afghanistan?
You said 2023? Are you saying that this is still like an updated website? This is current?
Oh yeah, this is current.
I thought you were talking about like a 20-year-old website.
No, it looks like a 20-year-old website, but he's absolutely still at it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. What if nukes are so real?
Just
nuke
use 'em.
Iraq.
If nukes are real, then use them. Use them or lose them, buddy. Not that you had them in the first place.
Prove it. Nuke Osama bin Laden right now, if they're so real. He starts off one of his massive walls of text with this, which I think tells you a little bit something about the character of this man. He says, this is a very long article about the 1945/2023 US/Russian atomic/A-bomb manipulations. It is my opinion about fake US, Soviet, UK, France, North Korea, etc. A-bombs and fake nuclear weapons based on evidence, personal research, findings, moving around the world, meeting people involved in the fakery, and common sense, info of which I have told my own children.
That's brave to tell your own kids that.
I really like the idea of this old Swedish guy sitting his adult children down and being like, listen, Anders, there's something I have to tell you.
Anders Jr.
I don't have another Swedish name right now. He's like, listen, nukes are not real. And the government doesn't think I know how to keep ships safe at sea. And they don't know about the Estonia incident.
They think I'm an idiot. Bunch of false clowns.
These clowns think I'm an idiot.
When he said children, I was more imagining like a 6-year-old. Not like an adult.
Oh.
Sitting like taking his 6-year-old out for like ice fishing. He's like, listen, Anders Jr., I gotta have a talk with you. Nukes, it's not real. They're just made by a bunch of clowns. Sorry.
There's something you need to know about these clowns in space. Little Anders. Now, I made note of this part of his writing because I had just seen Oppenheimer. He talks about Niels. Now, Niels, if you've seen Oppenheimer, is Kenneth Branagh. He's played by Kenneth Branagh in the movie. And he writes, as Niels was Jewish, he moved to Sweden in 1941 and into my grandfather's house for some time. Niels took over my mother's bedroom. My mother had moved to Lund to study Russian. One day in 1942, Niels disappeared, and it was later said he had gone to Los Alamos. Niels left a trunk in the room, and nobody dared to open it. It could contain atomic secrets. World War II ended in 1945, and Niels came back to collect his trunk that only contained dirty underwear. So he's saying, listen, Kenneth Branagh lived at my grandpa's house, and he had a suitcase, and that suitcase was full of dirty underwear. So that's kind of how I know that nukes aren't real.
So because the suitcase wasn't full of atomic secrets that he happened to leave behind, that means nukes aren't real.
Yeah.
That doesn't make...
He's like, dude, I met Kenneth Branagh, and he was lying.
Because he worked on nukes, and the suitcase he had with him did not contain nuclear secrets, that means they aren't real.
Yes. Now, to me, this like anecdote here really gets at like, who is this guy? Like is this guy just totally delusional, or like is he like, did he start down this weird path of being obsessed with nukes because his family is genuinely connected to Niels in some way? I mean, like, it's not impossible that his grandpa, genuinely like knew Niels. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it kind of sounds like he's just like, he's salty that his family didn't find some nuclear secrets.
It reminded me of like when Alex Jones talks about how his grandpa worked for the military.
Mm.
And it's like I don't think the stuff he says about his grandpa is actually true, but it's like, I think like, what if that sort of started him down this path of like, being interested in this stuff and like thinking there's all these secrets? Like, what if the creator of this website is actually connected to Kenneth Branagh, and that triggered his obsession?
What's this guy's name? Anders Slavinsky?
His name is Bjorkman.
Anders
Bjorkman.
That's an anagram. Kenneth Branagh.
He also talks about Oppenheimer directly.
The movie?
So not the movie, unfortunately.
Oh, there's not an Oppenheimer movie review on his website?
Sadly, no.
Damn.
But this is where he mentions Oppenheimer on his website. He says Oppenheimer and his brother were young communists from New York. Now, Robert thought he and 5 comrades could secretly build an atomic bomb in no time at Los Alamos. Robert soon found he needed more assistance, and after a year, there were more than 5,000 clowns building the A-bomb. Mm-hmm. It was a great and easy way to avoid military service and getting killed in Germany or Japan, building a secret weapon in New Mexico. So he's basically saying, yeah, Oppenheimer was just a draft dodger. Like, he wanted to screw around in the desert lying instead of going and fighting the Nazis.
He was just a coward.
Yeah. Like, this guy was just a coward.
You can't have scientists during wartime. Those are just a bunch of cowards.
No, like, that seems to be like the origin of this for him. It's like that's like kind of the start of the lie. Now, this is something he has to say about Japan specifically. This is probably my favorite thing on his entire website.
Now make sure to not use any slurs here.
No, he's actually this man is not racist. Bjorkman.
Okay.
Bjorkman is not like all the people on Nuke Lies who are like anti-Semitic. He actually parts of his website specifically criticize Hitler and Stalin.
Thank God.
I know. Thankfully, this is a progressive.
Someone had to do it.
Someone had to shoot down Hitler. But this is my favorite thing he writes, where he says, in Japan, the social phenomena known as hikikomori, the psychological condition where people shut themselves off, often staying in their bedrooms for 10 years on end, is gearing towards crisis point. The Japanese government defines hikikomori as people who haven't left their rooms or interacted with others for 6 months. It's now a big problem. I have a feeling that the main cause of being hikikomori is being fed fake information since birth about life and history, including the fake atomic bombings in 1945 and the fake Fukushima incident in 2011. I suffered something similar in 1953, i.e. being told lies about war and history, and I had to leave home to cure myself. The hikikomori alone in their rooms are only supported by their parents and internet friends. The parents feed them and pay their internet fees. The friends keep in contact via internet. The show goes on.
Now, as someone who has had personal experience with being a hikikomori, or NEET, as for English speakers, I have to say, none of being a shut-in had anything to do with being taught about nukes. I will go ahead and deconfirm that.
You weren't staying inside because you were scared of the Hiroshima bombing?
No.
Well, what if that's because you're an American? Like, what if the the guys in Japan who are just staying inside watching anime all day, what if they're just too scared? They're too scared of nukes.
No,
What if he's right?
I think I can say for certain that they were also not scared to go outside for similar reasons. I don't think nukes even factored into the equation.
I like that this like old Swedish guy is even aware of hikikomori, you know?
It would be kind of funny for there to be like a Swedish NEET in the 50s who's like also a weeaboo.
Well, hold on. This guy's not a NEET. This guy he's like a boat safety architect.
Well, in the 50s. In the 50s.
Yeah, maybe he had like a weeb period before becoming a boat architect.
He got really into Nintendo.
Like Astro Boy.
He got really into Hanafuda cards from Nintendo.
He's like, this stuff is great.
Yeah.
One of his like sources for nukes not being real, he sent me to another great conspiracy theorist named Miles Mathis.
Source, I made it up.
Well, that's the reality, yeah.
Yeah.
But Miles Mathis is so great that he may have to get his own episode in the future. Miles Mathis wrote a lot about how nukes were fake, but he covers a wide array of topics that I think are original to him. He said JFK was gay, first of all.
True. Well, bisexual. Pansexual.
He said the Lincoln assassination was fake.
Was gay.
He said that was gay. He said the McKinley assassination was fake.
Who?
Exactly. Who would bother to fake assassinate McKinley? Then he said the Garfield assassination was fake.
Wait, Garfield's dead?
Garfield is straight up dead.
No.
And he has a huge paper about how the Garfield assassination was fake. He also said the Tate murders were fake and that Charles Manson is innocent.
Andrew and Tristan Tate are still alive. They're just
Andrew Tate. He would probably say he was fake. So Manson is innocent. Not only that,
Manson's fake. He's not even real.
He says O.J. Simpson is innocent and nobody died.
And gay.
Not only is he innocent, nobody is dead in the O.J. Simpson case.
I mean, O.J. sure acts like it.
The Zodiac Killer is fake. Nobody's dead.
Okay.
And this is maybe my favorite. This is like Taylor Swift, the pop star, maybe you've heard of her, and Jonathan Swift, the 19th century author, are related.
Okay.
To Obama.
Whoa!
They are distant cousins, and Taylor Swift and Obama are like third cousins or something. I can't remember what his exact argument was.
That would be like cool, I guess. I don't see how that would be like a conspiracy.
Yeah, it's not exactly a conspiracy.
That would just be like neat.
Yeah, but like he is very concerned with this, and he has many like huge papers detailing like the genealogy of how these people are connected.
What would be the problem with Obama and Taylor Swift being like distant cousins?
I don't know. But this is of huge concern to him.
All right, well, we'll put it on the to-do list, okay?
I think he might deserve his own episode in the future.
We could just do a whole Taylor Swift episode, a whole Obama / Taylor Swift episode.
Well, we legitimately might do a Taylor Swift episode because as my sister once said, Taylor Swift and specifically Gaylor Swift, which is the conspiracy, is essentially QAnon for Zoomer women. It has the same level of detail and intensity and passion behind it. And we might actually do an episode on that in the future. But that's basically it for Anders. I liked his website. I would encourage people to go check it out. The other thing that's worth mentioning is that there is a sort of side conspiracy that I became aware of, which is called Nuclear 9/11, which is about how
I've heard 9/11.
Of it. You have heard of this?
Mm-hmm.
9/11 was not only a false flag, but there were nukes in the towers.
Right.
That they detonated.
And that's what destroyed the towers.
Yeah. And I'm glad, I like that conspiracy is
But
out
if
there.
nukes aren't real, how could nuclear 9/11 be real? So not only was 9/11 fake, but nukes are fake, so the nuclear 9/11 is it's triple fake.
Yeah, presumably the Nuke Lies crowd would have huge beef with the nuclear 9/11 crowd.
I think that's one of the biggest problems with these conspiracy theories is that none of them mesh. They all have to be like contained within their own bubble. Only like one of these conspiracies can be real at a time.
Yeah, you gotta pick one.
Yeah,
and have that be your
or like at least learn how to at least craft your conspiracy around another one.
Yeah, a good.
Yeah,
you gotta have a good ecumenical conspiracy. Now, this is not a spoiler for Oppenheimer, in case you guys out there have not seen Oppenheimer yet.
Japan gets nuked twice.
That's actually, it's funny to me that like people are saying like, oh, no spoilers. It's like, this is real. This like happened. What do you mean spoilers? This is history. It's like, oh, nobody tell me like what happened to Rome. I don't want to know. I'm reading the history right now. But if you haven't seen it yet, this is kind of surprising. A large amount of screen time is dedicated to this conspiracy. So throughout the movie, this happens a bunch of times. Throughout the movie, someone sneaks onto the base. They sneak into Los Alamos, and they're like attacking Oppenheimer. They're like, oh, nukes aren't real. Like, this can't be real. Like, this is all fake. And then Oppenheimer has to fight them. There's like a lot of fist fights, and he's battling them. And then he takes out like a little bit of enriched uranium, and he just sort of Hadoukens them with it. And he just blasts them, and they like fly away, and they're all like red and like melting. And a solid like 30 minutes of screen time are dedicated to this. Did you know that?
I did see like some clips on the on YouTube about that.
It's crazy. And then there's the 20-minute sex scene.
Right. Which the movie cold opens into that.
Yeah. So a lot of the movie is just, it's going back and forth between like he's fighting people with radiation, then he's going back to like sex. He's like banging people like in the desert.
No, I haven't seen the movie. Did you stay after the credits, by the way?
No.
Okay,
so what's the after credits scene?
Well, I heard that they did tease Godzilla for the sequel.
Well, now I wish I had stayed, because that sounds sick.
It'll be on YouTube in like a week or something, but yeah.
It's a great movie. I strongly recommend everyone go see it.
Now there was something I wanted to bring up that's totally unrelated to nukes.
I think we're kind of done with nukes now, so now is the time for unrelated topics.
There was a congressional hearing on UFOs the other day.
Do we want to get into that at all?
I just want to say like the one guy that really talked about it, who said they recovered non-human biologics from crashes. David Grush. He is like associated with like Bob Lazar and some guys that you covered on Investigate Joe Rogan, but he did swear like under oath or whatever, but the UFO guys that he associates with, I don't know. He also has the sort of the weird UFO liar physiognomy. If you look at him, he's balding. He's only half a man. He doesn't have a full head of hair like you and me.
But here's the problem. Everyone, all the alien people, all they heard was all this translated to for them was the government admitted they have aliens. We are now stuck with people who, for the rest of their life, will think that the government admitted to having aliens. That's where we're at right now, because of this whole hearing.
Yeah. Even though it was just like one guy who is like friends and mentored by, Bob Lazar and other crazy UFO guys.
Yeah, I can't. We can't do an alien episode.
If you had one of these whistleblowers come in that had no prior relation to other weird UFO guys, that would be more credible than a guy whose whole thing is like doing like news interviews about, oh yeah, we got alien bodies. Because I think all the credible guys we probably have killed anyway. So,
but this has gassed up the alien people to so much.
It's gassed up X.com, Zitter, Twitter.
Oh, I'm sure it has,
because people don't actually watch the like 2.5 hour congressional hearing about it. But it was funny seeing like AOC ask questions about aliens. That was pretty good.
Yeah, that's fun.
Also, who's that guy who's always wearing the bandana? You know what I'm talking about? Jamie Raskin.
Who's this?
He's a Democratic representative. Jamie Raskin. He wears a bandana because he has cancer, I guess, and
Oh.
I don't want to be mean about it, but it does look pretty stupid.
The man is dying.
Well, a guy from Bruce Springsteen's band gave him the bandana to wear.
Oh. And now he's just like, I'm never taking this off.
Yeah, because they lifted the headwear ban for like for Congress. So he's like, screw it. I'm gonna wear this Bruce Springsteen bandana because I have cancer.
So we could see the return of some sick hats.
Yeah,
you LinkedIn action.
Yeah, I don't know why the only guy wearing a hat is like there's like Muslim women wearing their stuff, but then the only other guy wearing headwear, he's just wearing a bandana he got from Bruce Springsteen.
That's disappointing. I'd like to see some cool.
I want bowlers. I want trilbies. I want full-on Abraham Lincoln top hats. I want sombreros. I want cowboy hats. I want Hawaiian, hula hats. I want them to get nuts with it if they're allowed to. Why not?
What if the next time Joe Biden had a public appearance, he had a beard and a stovepipe hat, and he never addressed it ever?
What was the last president who had hats? Just Lincoln. That's all I can think of. Lincoln was the only hat guy.
He's the only one with an iconic hat. But I feel like dudes were wearing hats in like the 60s just with suits, right? Surely those guys were wearing hats.
Nope, not the president.
Yeah, now I think I'm struggling to imagine a later president than that wearing a hat.
All right, Trump.
I got nothing.
Trump, if you really want to win next year, you're gonna have to go for the hat. You're gonna have to. Well, not the MAGA hat. I guess the MAGA hat.
Yeah, but a baseball hat or like a trucker hat with a suit is like not the move.
Sombrero. Trump sombrero. Trump MAGA sombrero 2024.
And that gets him the Hispanic vote. They're like, all's forgiven now.
It gets him my vote if he wears a sombrero every day.
I think it's time for listener emails.
Oh, we have some?
We have a couple. Nigel has emailed us.
I love Nigel. He's cool.
He is cool. He said, someone blasted me with their high beams, and now I don't want to go to work. Am I an alien? Should I get checked? Then he said, do you guys not want to work either? Because I am impatiently waiting for the next episode. I don't care if there are severe burns. Do you feel attacked by this because you had severe burns and could not record?
No, I understand. I listen to like one podcast. I listen to the Adam Friedland show. They are also really bad at uploading on time. So I understand how it feels. And I guess it hurts a little bit. My penis did get blown off. But I understand, Nigel. I know you like the show, and I appreciate it.
Nigel, you are insulting a man with no penis.
I guess I'm not really a man anymore. I'm more machine than man.
Now, I also got this email. This is an email from Nina Niskanen.
Oh, I know her.
She says, hi, I am from Fairy Chamber YouTube channel. I create online courses on various topics related to spirituality, mythology, and folklore, and I'm looking for people to take my courses for free and leave a review if they like them. If you would be interested to join, you can do that here. fairychambercourses.substack.com.
Now I don't think this was a listener email. I think this might have just been spam.
It doesn't matter if it's spam or if this is actually sent to us. Should we get in on this? Should we get into like fairy folklore chambers?
Well, that's less conspiracy, just more. Folks, we're gonna tell you right now, the government has no stake in magical affairs. We don't care. We're not hiding that. It's just lame. Harry Potter was pretty cool at the time, but yeah, we don't really care about fairies.
Now here's an email from Rebecca Campbell. Rebecca Campbell Soup is a channeler that I emailed a while ago. And she said, "Thank you so much for your kind email invitation. Unfortunately, Rebecca isn't committing to any interviews or events for this foreseeable future, as she is prioritizing her next creative project. We gratefully decline. All the best with your project. Warm regards." Now, I know she's trying to be nice, but she is now on our enemy list. We have huge beef with this person. And if I ever saw her in real life, I would kill her. And this is going to escalate into a huge, huge problem for the podcast.
I don't know if you're allowed to say that.
I'm allowed to say whatever I want because I'm a federal employee. She is going on the enemy list along with the Lemurian Fellowship, who our war with them has not ended, by the way. I'm pursuing that. The next episode may contain a little something with the Lemurian Society.
We got a little something planned for those fellas. Those clowns.
Those Lemurian clowns. But no, the next episode is gonna be many conspiracies. It will contain many conspiracies of varying degrees of validity. It's gonna be a great episode. I have not told you what it's gonna be about, so this is a mystery to you as well, actually.
You usually don't tell me what these are about.
True, you usually go in blind. Do you want to go in blind, or should I say it now?
I love going in blind. It makes it way more fun.
Okay, I'm going to let the hype build for the next episode. Go see Oppenheimer for the fight scenes.
Go see Barbie for the philosophical discussions about nuclear warfare.
Yes, I have not seen it yet, but I'm sure that's good. If you live in Sweden and you are looking for someone to like check out your ship and make sure you don't have a Estonia type incident on your hands, hire Anders Bjorkman, because he's clearly a genius.
And he's not stupid, he's not an idiot, despite what the Swedish government wants you to believe. He's not a clown.
No, Estonia is the clowns. And I guess my final thoughts are just, this all could have been prevented if we still had that stand up to sitcom pipeline. We need to rebuild that pipeline.
Bring back the hot moms. Bring back the hot moms.
See you next episode.